Welcome. Thanks for joining me. We're going to be talking about this drive-by media hypocrisy and the constant coverage of January 6th, Donald Trump's tax returns, and the assumption that it's the most important things in the world while completely ignoring the riots that we had just a few short years ago under BLM that was being endorsed by the Democrat Party. And I'm going to show you in a video right here how very little the Democrat Party cared about what was going on during the BLM riots. But now that January 6th happened in a smaller fashion, it needs to be the biggest concern of the American people, and it is the threat to democracy, meanwhile ignoring bigger problems. And that's why it's very hard for a lot of people to take Democrats seriously and the drive-by media seriously when you ignore facts that are so clearly bigger than the facts that you want to point out. So let's roll into it.
Attack a courthouse for 100 nights in a row. How many people have been charged with the Portland incident? Do you know?
I defer to Ms. Sanborn that it had data on the number
Ms.
of arrests.
Sanborn?
I don't have the number of
Do you know, Ms. Sanborn?
No, sir, I don't have Portland specifically in front of me. I would, what I was referring to is 250 arrests over this whole summer.
What's most bothersome about this is that these two people's job is to know these numbers, and she thinks it's around 250 people for an entire summer of rioting, attacking courthouses and police stations, threatening police officers' lives. Only 250 people she thinks were arrested. But yet, the massive trial and movie productions that we've put on in the case of January 6th, it's hard to take our Democrat government serious when they dismiss so many things that are their problems while pointing out their enemies' problems so frequently. I know it's easy to point out your enemy's flaws, but if you have the same flaws or worse flaws, then you're really just throwing stones from a glass house and you look really stupid. And you make a lot of people who believe in you look stupid when they find out how much of a liar you really are.
Here's my point. January 6th was a bad day. It was a terrible day, and people are being prosecuted. And I would encourage you to have the full force and weight of law against those who defiled the Capitol. But these protests went on for a year. As you can see this photo behind me, they were literally throwing Molotov cocktails trying to kill police officers. And I didn't hear a whole lot from my colleagues on the other side for an entire year. I guess that's what gets me more than anything else. I understand the scope of January 6th, and I hope people are brought to justice. But this is, it's got to be a two-way street.
Seems like a lot more than 250 people should have been arrested. But as we saw, is that the coverage of the BLM riots was a lot softer than the coverage of the January 6th. And that's why it's unbelievably difficult for anybody to listen to this or for us to take it seriously. And the Democrat Party and the mainstream drive-by media needs to really start to take a look at the lies that they're telling people and that the rest of us can see it. As much as they may not be able to, this is a real self-examination moment for the media and for people on the left, is to really wake up and see what you're accusing one party of and one group of people of versus what we saw on a massive scale that went on from all the way from like 2009 up until, because this wasn't just a short thing. This went on under Barack Obama with Trayvon Martin as well. There were problems that happened then. There was Michael Brown that happened. Ferguson, Missouri was burned to the ground over Michael Brown. We've seen this happen over and over and over again, and there's been a soft hand taken on those riots versus a heavy hand taken on January 6th. No one can take that seriously. And it's just been the same thing with story after story after story. We should worry about how Donald Trump did the biggest thing ever when it's actually a small thing in comparison to Hillary Clinton's 30,000 emails, for instance. Or the fact that it's Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump all of the time while ignoring what's happened with the Hunter Biden stories. Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump while even ignoring the $1.7 trillion spending package that just got passed should be this huge deal. You would think that they'd be so proud of themselves for having passed this deal, but instead we still see more about Donald Trump. The hatred towards Donald Trump is the only deflection that the Democrat Party and the drive-by media have. And they have ridden this pony so far into the ground that I am amazed by any American who still doesn't see the facts right now. It is unbelievable, the level of hypocrisy. You have to have your head completely in the sand, ignoring any real news if you don't see this crap. You see Bill Burr on an explosion right now. This guy is blowing up, and everybody who is not PC, everybody who's not falling in line is thriving. And all of the people who are pushing this Donald Trump agenda, it is getting sad that this is what your entire business model and your entire drive is to make it about Donald Trump. Donald Trump, Donald Trump. You can't even tout or tell us about all the amazing things that Joe Biden's been doing when it's easier to tell us all about the horrible things that Donald Trump's done. And I don't even like Donald Trump, but I am so tired of hearing about him that I wish the media would figure something else out, because it is disgusting for them to not see the facts that are so clearly evident to at least 72 million Americans, and that we're all looking at the rest of the other Americans who don't get it like, why don't you get it? Why don't you see what's happening? Why don't you see the lies right in front of your face? Why don't you see that Donald Trump hasn't been the president for 2 years, but yet the mainstream media wants you to believe that his tax returns are the biggest deal that you should be paying attention to? We need to start asking for eyes to see and ears to hear the truth, because the lies are so dominant that we need help to see the facts through the fiction. Thanks for hitting that like and subscribe button. Thanks to my new subscribers. Thanks to all my subscribers. Thanks for watching. Later.